Hey guys, last night on Twitch, we went through the video of the release for the next version of D&D, and I reacted to it live on Twitch. So let's take a look at that video and see what I thought about the next version of Dungeons and Dragons. This was the video that they put out. Let's watch that.
Dungeons and Dragons is a thrilling adventure, one we play together as Dungeon Master and players, but also an adventure itself. Now, we stand at the start of a new generation of Dungeons and Dragons, and today we're going to introduce some of what's in store for us as we embark on an initiative that we call One D&D.
Growing up, I loved fantasy, but I never saw myself as the hero because I didn't think it was possible for someone who looked like me, who acted like me, who was like me, to be that hero.
We want to continue to reach out to folks who are interested in fantasy, who love storytelling, who enjoy spending time with their friends and creating these collective stories that they can remember for years to come.
D&D's been around for 50 years, and there's very little that persists that long that becomes generational, that people...
50 years. I mean, I feel like I've been playing a long time, but it never occurred to me that it was 50 years that this game's been around. Now, I haven't been around quite 50 years, but we're getting close.
People can really just not only share, but literally hand down to their kids. What we want to do is just add to that legacy.
We did a smart thing with 5th edition by listening to the fans. And what came out of that process was a system that is stable, that is well-loved, that incorporates the best elements of earlier editions. Now that we have that, we are no longer in the position where we think of D&D as an edition. It's just D&D.
5th edition is a rule set that has worked for
So they've got the name of this, they've changed it. Instead of going with D&D 6th edition, it's just one D&D. And like, it makes it sound like they have no plans on further editions, and I kind of have a little issue with that, because it makes it like, I don't know, it makes it sound like, you know, they're going to get everything perfect on this one, and there's never going to be a need to make a new edition. And I mean, you know, of course they thought that when they made 2nd edition. They thought that when they made 3rd edition, when they made 4th edition and 5th edition. Every time they make a new edition, they think they've got everything right. And by saying that we're not doing editions any longer, it's just one D&D, then that takes away the ability to, in 10 years, when the world changes and the wants and needs of the players change, then when you try to release a new version of the game, I mean, is it not D&D anymore? Do you have to change the name now because you don't have editions going along to say which edition this is so that people know what they're talking about? It's just weird to say that we're not doing editions anymore.
So many people and has brought so many new and exciting folks into the game. It's more important for us to continue to cultivate and respect and love what it is, you know, that the world has told us is working for them.
The sort of change you're going to see isn't about taking anything away from you, isn't about changing any of that stuff that you love. It's much more about giving you more options, giving you more choices you can make, more character types you can play, more magic spells you can cast. Basically, you know, we're very happy with the game the way it is today. We just want to build on that. We're revising the major core rulebooks that every player uses, the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual.
One of my focuses, specifically, is the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm going to make some structural changes to make it more friendly to new DMs.
When it comes to art for D&D, it's about...
There is a lot of stuff in these books. And I've talked to several friends. Several of the people that I play with are relatively new to D&D. We've got a group that is me and two of my buddies that we've been playing D&D for a long time. But we've got all of our wives playing as well, and this is really, for most of them, this is the first, or maybe a second, but they're very new to it. So we've talked about one of the wives running their own campaign for the rest of us, because it's always me and one other guy taking turns running the adventures. And so we've talked about having one of the ladies run an adventure, but they are so nervous. It's overwhelming how much information is in it. And on one hand, that's because there's a lot of information. On another hand, maybe it's because me and the other guy, mostly the other guy, make it look so easy because we've been doing it for 40 years, 30 years. And so they think that they're all the different things we're doing is seems complicated when it's really not. There's just a lot of information, and once you get a grasp on the information, which you can get the grasp simply by being a player and playing, you understand all the mechanics once you've been playing for a while. So they know all the mechanics. The only thing they don't understand is monster stats and what to do in certain situations. But I think that they'd be surprised how much of that is easier than they really think it is. I'm all for making it less daunting, streamlining the Dungeon Master's Guide and making it less daunting for people that want to get into the hobby and would like to try their hand at making their own story. Usually when there's somebody that wants to be a Dungeon Master for the first time, I tell them the best thing to do is to get a module and read the sections of the module and run a module, because then all the design work is done for you and you're just playing the monsters essentially instead of playing your character. You've just got different stats that you're working with, as opposed to having to create those and try to balance the encounters and stuff. So I like that they're wanting to streamline it to make it seem easier. Whether or not it really does seem easier, we'll wait and see.
As versatile as our players, we want to show that the person you are can appear in the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's what 2024 holds, is this promise of getting new versions of the books that are the game but reflect where the game is presently.
One D&D has 3 pillars, and one is the rule set, which is built on the base of 5th edition, but updated.
We're building upon the rules that have been established, the storytelling, and expanding our world and our rule system.
Wait, did he say, pack that up?
But reflect where the game is presently.
One D&D has 3 pillars, and one is the rule set, which is...
Okay, that's weird, because D&D has 3 pillars. Combat, social, and exploration. It's had 3 pillars since 1st edition, since it first came out. And those are the 3 pillars. The rule set is not one of the pillars. Now, I understand what he's saying. There's 3 things they're trying to include in this, but you can't call them pillars. That's already a term that people that play D&D use to describe things. You can't do that. It sounds like he's saying that that's one of the pillars of D&D when it's not. That's just confusing. I don't like that.
Built on the base of 5th edition, but updated.
We're building upon the rules that have been established, the storytelling, and expanding our world and our rule system.
When we say building on top of 5th edition, what we mean is that all the adventures and supplements that have been released in the past 10 years will still be playable with the new evolution of D&D.
Then there's...
So now that's real interesting too. So while they're putting out a new version, a new edition, it's not really a new edition, but you can use all the stuff you used before. So then that brings in all kinds of issues with trying to balance the new character options with the old character options. So if I could take my Dragonborn Paladin from 5th edition into a campaign, and my buddy brings in a Dragonborn Paladin from 1 D&D, then that kind of, they have to be equitable. They don't have to be the same. They don't have to be the exact same power level, but they've got to be within the same range that they both feel playable. So having everything backwards compatible to 5th edition seems odd. If you've got a new edition coming out, then it needs to be different. Otherwise, you've just got supplements with new rules. We've had lots of new books come out with new rules for character creation, rules for the races. The new books have different rules for some of the existing races. If all you're doing is putting out new rules on how to build characters and stuff like that, then if it's all backwards compatible, it's not really a new edition of D&D. It's just alternate rules to be used with 5th edition. So it's still 5th edition in that case. So that's weird to me that everything is going to be backwards compatible. It's nice because you can continue using all that content that was there before, but at the same time, it's a little disingenuous to say that that's a new edition.
There's D&D Beyond, which is the base of our digital tools and assists for players and DM. Currently, players are cobbling together all kinds of different apps and websites to have a true integrated D&D experience. What we want to do is actually just provide all the tools that the players need to play themselves in one space.
Right now,
I think that's fantastic, and I have no idea why in today's digital age they haven't already done that. It boggles my mind that they don't have a team building all these tools already. And there's thousands of apps, mobile apps and websites and everything out there that have just been created by Joe Schmo on the street in his spare time. If they had a dedicated team of like 3 guys, then they could have had all that same stuff. They could have had a virtual tabletop. They could have had character builders. They could have had encounter builders. They could have, every single tool, electronic tool that we use doesn't take so much time to build that a small team like that couldn't have done it a long time ago. And it's always baffled me why for 5th edition they didn't have any of their own tools, and we're all using like they're saying, cobbling together tools, whether it's a virtual tabletop like Roll20 or I think the Foundry or D&D Beyond, which they just finally brought on board officially. All that kind of stuff. It just boggles my mind that was never part of it.
With the acquisition of D&D Beyond, we've already started to dip our toe into digital, and it was a fantastic partnership that we have going, but we can add more.
Digital physical bundles is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and now that D&D Beyond is part of our family, it's finally something we can do. Your content is available anywhere you want it, and you have those physical books, but you've got nice portable versions that you can access through your phone or through your tablet or through your other device.
Then our future-facing aspect of this is the D&D Digital, which will become a full play space for you to have experiences that are more immersive. Right now we're in early development of our digital experience.
Pre-alpha, in-engine footage. So this isn't even alpha yet. This is just like a mock-up and a fly-through. So, it looks fantastic, but at the same time it's like this is just one 3D model that somebody built, and then they're just changing the camera angle on it. If it looks this good and the players can have control and zoom around the board and stuff like this, like is happening here, then that would be fantastic. And that would be amazing to see. And I really hope that when they get it all put together, it looks something like this, but doesn't cost $8 billion a month membership to be able to use.
We can play a game, roll some dice, see the miniatures moving around in a 3D play space.
Now this is a little more like what I would have expected it to look like. So you've got your minis going around, and you can move them around. I almost wonder if there's some sort of a grid that they'll include in that as well. Hey Chris, what's up? And we're just taking a look at the video that was released for the next edition of D&D. I don't know if you heard or seen anything about that. Once we get through this video, we're going to take a look. I actually downloaded the playtest material, and we're going to go through some of that and look at some of the changes they made. I glanced through it a little bit earlier. It's interesting. I like some of the stuff I saw, so we'll see what happens. Right now they're going over their plans for digital content.
But that's just the core of it.
We chose the Unreal Engine for several reasons.
Reason number one, make it look dope. That's the first thing. Number two is take care of the lazy DM, because we're all
See, so that they showed us this here as though this is in-game engine footage, which is in no way, shape, or form comparable to, where is it, to this. Those are two completely different looks. And I wonder which, I mean, I would guess this is way more likely to be the right one, but why would they show us the other one as in-game footage, unless this is just like the rough draft?
But that's just the core of it.
We chose the Unreal Engine for several reasons.
Reason number one, make it look dope. That's the first thing. Number two is take care of the lazy DM, because we're all lazy DMs. Ease of use means being able to access all of the tools that you need in order to get the adventure started. So we used a camera technique called tilt shift. It actually makes things look small. We want to make sure that the experience for you is that you're experiencing a miniature set.
The tilt shift camera was really chosen so that people understood that this wasn't a video game, but it is a digital experience. We want to give people more minis, more options for character customization. You can actually change the features, do what you want with it. And you're going to use this miniature approach to tell stories just like you do in physical tabletop.
To have your character live.
I'm transported there, but I'm not limited by the digital technology.
We might give you a pre-made campaign from us that has an exciting castle or keep with a dungeon inside of it, exciting NPCs, but then you're going to be able to take this playset, take it apart, and build your own. We're going to...
So I like that too. So if they're going to give me this digital playset, then each of the tiles and elements within the adventure that I've purchased, I can reuse. Or I can change it. Maybe my party that I'm running through the module is smaller, just 3 people instead of 4 or 5, or maybe it's bigger and it's 6 or 7, and it allows me to make the rooms a little bigger, the hallways bigger, or narrow the rooms, make them smaller, or whatever as needed. I think that's pretty cool. But then the ability to, it sounds like they're saying that we'd have the ability to use the different tile pieces, the different set pieces when building our own dungeons if we wanted to do that. So if I wanted to build one, I could put my own tiles and I could put my own pillars and stuff like that in there. I think that's pretty cool.
Have a really robust tool for you to be able to create your own dungeons.
This is just the start of One D&D, and we're relying on all of you to help us out and figure out that future together.
What you're going to be able to see starting in August is a steady release of these playtest packages where you'll be able to engage with key aspects of the game, provide us with feedback that then we will digest, process, interpret, analyze, and then act upon.
Really, it's you shaping the next generation of Dungeons & Dragons, and we want to hear exactly what you have to say.
Playtesting starts today. Go to dndbeyond.com, download the playtest packet, and get ready to let us know where you'd like this next leg of the adventure to go.
So those are my thoughts on D&D, or rather One D&D. And if you'd like to come and check us out on Twitch, the link will be down in the description. As new playtest material comes out, we will examine that playtest material and take a look and see what we think about it. So come check us out on Twitch, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like it when the new material drops, like and subscribe this video, and we'll get it to you. Have a good day.